maybe last day of learning something new in calc. Maybe. I say maybe because I don't know if I can fit the whole thing in. Oh, do we need some napkins? Oh, okay. You look so mad. I thought your stuff was flying everywhere. Oh. Your super speed failed you. So I don't think you're going to have too much trouble with the topic itself because it seemed like 7.3 went okay for you. Yeah. What 7.4 is word problem-ish versions of 7.3. I say word problem-ish because they're all the same setup. There is only one setup for all of these word problems. So it's labeled as growth and decay. You used to call it exponential growth and exponential decay. What did you guys call it? PERT?
Yeah.
Yes. You probably had your teacher probably went on a big long rant about PERT shampoo. Because that's what I do.
PERT, but not the other part.
Not PERT shampoo?
Just PERT.
Oh, that's how you're supposed to remember it is from PERT shampoo. It's like the cheapest shampoo there is. If you go to Target, it's this bright green bottle, usually a giant size, and it's like, it used to be $1. It used to be a good brand 40 years ago. Now it's just the 99-cent version. There used to be PERT, PERT Plus, all sorts of them. Well, it was $1 then. Yeah, it's probably like $20 now, I don't know. Everything goes up real fast. Okay, but going off of PERT. PERT was a Algebra 2 version equation that was given to you with information like there, right? P was how much money you started with, R was the interest rate. That same equation works for lots of topics. So exponential growth and exponential decay, they actually all, can I highlight? No, okay. I'll try to highlight. Every exponential growth and decay problem begins from that phrase. Basically, how much something changes is dependent on how much you have. I mean, that's not like a huge shocker either. I mean, like, you guys kind of get that. I could give you different situations where you would put it together and know it, but I feel like we've already talked about similar thing like this in 7.1. It was when we were first talking about differential equations. If you take dy dt equals k times y and integrate it, you would get y equals cekt as the answer. Now what's good about this is if you get a word problem on the AP test and it begins by saying some version of that sentence that I highlighted, if it was, say, something like y changes at a rate proportional to y, so, I mean, like it'll tell you in some version of that same sentence, you can immediately write this as the solution. So we're not going to have to integrate during the problem. That's one thing that's nice. Now I'm going to skip the portion where I integrate this and get y equals c to the kt, because we kind of already have done it. Hi. Oh, I already forgot. Did they finish?
No. So they did well because they
Yeah, all right. They were stuck on one on the back.
Yeah, and I said, you guys, I found area. This equals. I gave you the equals. Now find the. So, but
Oh, and we definitely had a worksheet
I
with
did,
exact
they're
problems
going-
where they wrote them down the cheat sheet.
They said, I don't know if I did that. I said, I'm sure you probably did. And I said that he's giving you what it equals. Now find your x. Like,
Yeah.
they just, and I didn't know what more I could say than that. So then I just said, they go, well, I'm not done.
Yeah, maybe
And I
mine's
said,
too long.
you know what? I'll let him know you're not done. Maybe you look it up this weekend so you know what to do. I mean, like, hello, that's what all the other kids do. Right?
Yeah,
We
pretty
saw the
much.
test, and now we know what to look up. But at least either they take the time to do it or they don't.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
they'll
so-
probably come and ask me
these
questions.
guys, right? They're like, well, because I didn't know what more I should say. This is the equals. I said, set it up. Find out. Is it the same X?
No, that's good enough. That's all you.
So they're fine. They're so sweet.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Instead of banana, Caroline, show. Ask him if it looks
What?
Can you see if it looks
Did you say instead of a banana?
No. Does that look like a banana?
Why are you asking me that?
We're currently tied. I'll do a survey later.
I can clearly see that we are not finishing today. Everybody is semi-distracted. I'm not saying good or bad about it, just my observation. Jeez. Was that Alex? Is that the random noise of the day? Okay. Okay, let's start with example 2. It says the rate of change of y is proportional to y. As soon as I see this statement, I immediately know that I can write down the generic general solution. I mean, I guess I shouldn't call it generic because that's what general means. So y equals c e to the kt. What are you asking about? Oh. What the heck? Whoa, what is going on? How do I undo that? Okay. What? Okay, you just screwed up my line. I don't know what's going on today here. Seeing that sentence means I can write that immediately. That's the part you want to get down. And I'd say probably every other year, there's a free response question that has one of those as part of it. I like how you think I memorize year to year. I pay attention to what types of problems I only remember them if they're an outlier and stick out different than regular. But having said that, next week we're going over the previous years. Okay, so y equals c to the kt. When we talked about PERT, do you remember what c represented? The initial amount. Now, I'm going to tell you that you shouldn't just immediately write the initial amount in there, because if you have a different version of this equation, which we'll get to at the end, it's not directly going to be the initial amount. It almost always is, though. K is the constant of proportion, which basically is a number that changes depending on the numbers, the information. Okay, so I'm going to take my two sets of information. It purposely gives us two sets of numbers so that we can find C and then find K. So when we have the plus C from integration, we only need one set of numbers to find C. Because we have two variables missing, or two constants, we need two sets of numbers to figure them out. So traditionally, one of these two will be with a 0 so that you can figure out C. So if I plug in 0, 3, I'm going to have 3 equals C e to the k times 0. And that's easy for us because e to the 0 is 1. And so immediately C is that answer, which is the initial amount. Sometimes they will call it the initial amount and not tell you a time. So it's like a point in disguise or like numbers in disguise. So now that we figured out C, we're going to rewrite our generic equation with the 3 in there. And so we're just essentially refining our generic equation until it's very specific to this situation. Traditionally, you are going to need your calculator because these don't work out well. Just FYI. So 2, 6. 6 is equal to 3e to the 2 times k. And our goal is to solve for k, so it's going to involve natural logs. Divide by 3, divide by 3. Take the, I believe you guys were told to take natural log of both sides. Eli, why do you think I wrote that gigantic decimal? Perfect. Number one mistake you're going to make on exponential growth and decay problems is to round the k value. Now, me personally, I actually don't usually even round it. What I traditionally do is I will put ln of 2 over 2 in place of k. Or ln of square root of 2. If you don't like writing it out, like you can simplify the natural log. I usually don't even put a decimal in place of it because you're going to find, especially when we get to do half-life problem in a little bit, when you start dealing with thousands and millions of years, it's ridiculous how much different your answer will be if you have a k value that's rounded to like 3 decimal places. So the k value, try not to round it ever.
How much do we, for the final answer, how much should we round it to?
Final answer would be 3 decimal places. And so basically, just to make the 3 decimal places accurate, normally you work with like 5 to 6 decimal places, but because it's in a power, like in the exponent, you have to even do more because it makes it off by that much. Okay, so what I would put as my final answer and my particular solution would be 3e, and then what I would put is ln of 2 over 2, or ln of square root of 2, times t. If you want to put the decimal, you can. Are you guys okay where I got the square root of 2 from? Ln of 2 over 2 is 1/2 ln of 2. Bring it in as a power. So that's the square root of 2. This is the only reason I say that is probably because that's a lot easier to type in on your calculator. Okay, and then the last question. Eli, who should help me out?
Two.
Kind of impressed. Nobody ever guesses numbers that low or big.
That's what I did. Everyone
Okay.
else does not.
Andrew? There's one last question up there that says, what is the value of y when t is 3? What would we do to figure that out? 4? Perfect. I'm not going to do it because I ran out of space. But that's exactly what you'd do. So, what I'm wondering is how you guys are feeling about this layout or the setup. You're going to need 2 pieces of information to find 2 unknown things. Once you find the particular solution, there's usually a question that goes with it that'll ask you to find out, like this one says, what is the value of y when t is 3? What? Why did you raise your hand if you didn't have a question?
C and K are always going to be the same constant once you find them. So they're not going to change.
You mean once you figure out what C is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't ever change once you figure it out because the numbers that you're given are the numbers that determine those constants. Kind of. The T, it wouldn't affect the T. You just leave it. Yeah, you just leave it instead of try it. If you try to simplify, if you try to simplify it and make a mistake, you really screw up the problem. So it's usually better to just kind of leave it unsimplified. Oh yeah, for sure.
Is there ever a situation where they give you a t that's not 0?
Yeah. So we're going to get lots of versions of these problems. That's why what I'm really trying to emphasize here is, are you okay with the fact that you need 2 sets of data to figure out C and K, / are you okay finding C and K on your own? Okay, because before we get to other versions of these problems, I want to make sure that you guys have that process down. Okay. This one, I would like you to try on your own, but I want to talk about it before you try it because it's written very misleading. I'm actually rather unsure why it was written this way. Okay, you were given this equation. It kind of looks like they gave you CE to the KT already. But if you read the words, this is the differential equation, the derivative. And then it says at t equals 0, the number of bacteria present was 7,500. So you should take that as initial amount. Then it says find the number present at t equals 5. Here's what I don't like about this problem. If I write derivative of bacteria compared to time, if I write this out and I decide to integrate it to find the general solution, because you'll notice it didn't specifically say the rate of change of y is related to proportional to y. If I integrate this, I will find out that b equals 7,500 e to the 2/5 t. That's what you're going to get as the answer. And the plus c, I basically already found because it's 7,500. So this problem to me was written misleading. Granted, that's not unheard of on the AP test. I mean, it feels like kind of their thing, is to write something slightly different than you normally hear it, so they want to see if it feels confusing to you or not. Okay, but this is the particular solution because we have C and K already figured out. So how would I find the number present at t equals 5? Plug in the 5 on the calculator, yep. I know I said I was going to have you try this, but I realized I didn't want to. But if you guys look, because I know a lot of you look at the answer key in the notes for the actual note part of it. If you do, this one feels sort of confusing because it follows the same route, sort of. But all it's doing is it kind of just tells you the information ahead of time. I'll write it here and then erase it. If you integrate e to the u, you need the derivative of the power with it. So if you're trying to integrate e to the 2/5 t, the dt would need a 2/5 here and a 5/2 out front. And then the integral would become just e to the 2/5 t. So this would be the answer, times 5/2 times whatever number was in the front. Oh yeah, 3,500 or whatever it was, 3,000, and then you get 7,500. Okay, a slow economy caused a company's annual revenues to drop from 530,000 in 2008. Oh, okay, go ahead. I was going to say, how do you have a question about this one already?
It has the population of the bacteria at t equals 5. But you get a decimal for that. Are you expected to, like...
Oh, no, that's a good question.
Not in the full once it's the 0.9, or that it's not there, or that they're still in the process of asexual reproduction, and there's, like, 9...
You can't have a part of a bacteria, right?
Yeah.
There's no good answer to that. They're usually fine with you just rounding to 3 decimal places. And it will probably say in the problem if they want you to round to the nearest whole number or something. So they'll usually give you some guidance on that.
Okay.
Because there really isn't a correct answer to that question. I agree with you. It's basically like whenever they do a problem with number of people, a part of a person isn't such thing. Slow economy caused the company's annual revenues to drop from 530,000 in 2008 to 386 in 2010. If the revenue is following an exponential pattern of decline, this is the key wording to say y equals ce to the kt. Exponential growth or exponential decay, decline. What is the expected revenue for 2013? I think what would benefit us the most is to try to figure out from these numbers what would be the points we plug in. Because that's where most students get confused. It's not written in direct form. 530,000 is next to the year 2008. So I'm very sure some of you would write this and make the point 2008, 530,000. And there would be nothing wrong with it, except you wouldn't figure out C. Yep, that's what I was getting to, right. And so if you did your second point as 2010, 386,000, you would essentially get two equations where C and K are both unsolved. You'd have to set them equal to each other. So two equations, two variables, like pre-calc algebra 2. So you'd have to set them equal to each other with two situations just to find an answer. K can be negative, yes. Yep. That's what we should find. Yep. So correct. Instead of using 2008, you're better off writing this as year 0. This is year 2. And then it's asking us to find what is the expected revenue for 2013, which would be year 5. So this is pretty much the information that was laid out to us. And it's much more beneficial to use a 0 because that means 530,000 would be C. So I'm going to find C first. 530,000 e to the k times 0. And so C is 530,000 like we already knew. My new upgraded equation with more specific information is now y equals 530,000. I guess you could probably take out the thousands digit as well and make them all just 530,386 if you really wanted to, but then you have to remember that at the end of the problem as well. E to the kt. So we've used that number. Now we're going to use the second piece of data to find k. So 386,000 divide both sides by 530,000. I'll go back to Eli. He had a good answer the first time. Why would I leave it as 386 over 530 instead of just writing the decimal possibly? That is 100% true as well, right? That was probably the first reason I usually did that all the time. Just because I don't like writing that many numbers. Second reason, this is going to be more accurate than you writing the decimal. I mean, it's not like it's terribly different, but when you're dealing with such big numbers, I've always found keeping it as exact as you can for as long as you can is better. So I'm kind of curious, if some of you wrote down the decimal, I want to see if our final answers would be the same. So I'm going to solve for k by taking the ln of both sides. So ln of 386 5/30ths is going to be divided by 2, and that's my k value. So technically, ln square root 386 5/30ths. That's my k value. And when I'm using 530,000, I want to be as exact as I can. So ln square root 386 5/30ths. You guys can certainly write the decimal. I'm just trying to show you that it's going to be slightly different. And then we're going to plug 5 in place of t. And this is kind of where I'm curious if your decimal answer would be pretty much the same or close. And you'll notice I simplified it to something I didn't need the calculator for. Times what? 5? 5. So 5 ln. So 538,000 e to the 5 times ln of square root 386 divided by 530 Did For somebody who's the decimal, did you get the same 3734 at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, it should be accurate enough, but I've always just kind of felt like it might be off, and I want to use as exact as I can, as far as I can. Now, especially because this one stands for money, if it's not accurate to that many decimal places, it semi doesn't count. I say semi doesn't count because banks actually do calculate your money way past the penny. Like that's how they figure out your interest and things like that. So they do calculate it way past that. And since it's your money, you always want as much and as accurate as you can. Yeah, we diff. This is normal day, normal hour, right? Do you feel like you could try this one on your own? It's supposed to be semi-similar to the money problem, but it's not money. It's insects. See if you can... this one doesn't say what to round to, so we'll just go to a decimal place of an insect. Well, just go to the decimal place, even though it's not real.
What do you do? Yeah.
Where was I? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
No, you asked me something, but I didn't hear it. Oh, the final answer? 3.
What kind of support is? Biggest side issues, maintenance. Because you have to have a cross bar to attach to. The belly panel is strongest. Unless you want to use that. The belly panel. Plus it's 1.2. My brother making more complex.
Okay, before I go on further, did you guys get stuck trying to figure out the C or K? Okay. So when I wrote out both equations, I have 2 equations with 2 things I don't know. And we really only have a couple choices on how to solve those. It's either elimination, which is what everybody probably preferred when we had linear equations, like adding them together, or substitution. Substitution actually works really good for this, even though it feels like it shouldn't. So if I solve for C, it doesn't matter which one you pick. I picked the top one. C was 130 over e to the 3k. The reason it works out really good is because you have e to the 7k divided by e to the 3k. They're super compatible. You subtract their powers because they're divided. And then you get e to the 4k. So it actually works out really nice in there. And then you go through the process to figure out k, which I'm assuming somebody else has this decimal. I just didn't type it in yet. Oh, okay, you guys didn't either. All right. I thought I heard some people saying they had the answer.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't that mean you have the decimal for k?
0.268159.
Oh, wait, 0.268159.
2006.
Perfect. Okay, so there's my k value. I'm going to rewrite my equation with k, and then my goal is to find c. So I'm going to have, where the heck am I? Oh, the population. Population, CE to the, I'm not going to write the whole thing down up here. Okay, then I'm going to put in my one piece of information. Why am I getting thrown off? What am I not putting in correctly? Yeah, we're finding C though.
Sorry, I always make it B equals C. Unless,
In your case, so like, I don't know.
unless you like plug in like yeah, I do.
Oh, okay, back up. There was nothing wrong with what I was writing except you can't find any answers. I'm going to take either of those other 2 that we had information plugged in for and then use K. So 130 divided by the whole thing would be C. Yeah, go, I heard somebody ask a question.
Why don't you easier just to do the one you circled?
Well, yeah, because it was already solved for C. Yes, because I just wrote down the exact same thing after a couple steps. I mean, sure, if you want to be efficient and smart about this, yes. I don't claim to be that.
Mr. McLeod,
Yeah, I'm listening.
we should just set the, what is it, 3 years one as like the 130 as 0, t equals 0, and then the 7th year, like,
That's
4, and
four,
that's
and
like.
the initials.
Oh, and then find negative 3 years? Yeah, it should work. Really? Is that what a lot of you did?
Yep.
Oh. I guess my lesson paid off. You basically just changed the year to fit what you like better. I got 58.152
Yep.
insects.
Yeah, you got you stuck at that.
Honestly, I would not expect any issues if you did something like that on the AP test. So if you decided to make the 3rd day day 0 and the 7th day day 4, and then be able to find C and K right away, and then plug in -3 for time, it gets the same answer. And I can't see any reason why they would mark that off. As long as you say, let it be known that day 3 equals time 0. I mean, I know this was the intention of the question, for sure, was to show you how to do it if there were 2 variables but no initial value.
Like, what I did was, I just like did that like the 0 and 4 thing, and then I just found that k equals.
Yeah, and then plugged in -3.
No, I just did the same thing you did on the right. Because then I found the value of k, so I just did like one of those equations and I plugged in k. Instead of doing like -3.
Oh, I got what you're saying. Sure. Yeah, no, that would work too. I mean, we're basically just using the equations to find something, so you can kind of use them however you want. I know I won't have enough time for Half-Life. I can try for it.
We can do it.
Oh, we're not going to be done after Half-Life, though. Is that what you were thinking? Yeah, I was thinking it'd be better for you to try the problems that were not Half-Life and not heating and cooling. So do you want me to go through the homework with you and tell you which ones to try? I kind of opened it up in anticipation of thinking we wouldn't finish. That's not the notes. That's the note. Where'd the homework go? Did I close it? Okay. Yep, go for it. Okay, number 1 would be good. Number 2 would be good. Oh, let me back up. Number 1, circle number 1, not number 2. Half-Life. Circle number 4. Number 1, number 4. Apparently they're all mixed around. Number 5. Not 6. 7. Nope. Not 8. Not 9. Not 10. Whoa, there's a lot of half-life in here for some reason. 11. And that's it. I mean, basically, if the problem mentions half-life, and it looks like there was only one heating and cooling problem, don't do them yet. So it really was about half the homework, I guess. This homework doesn't actually take that long. Wouldn't be shocked if you could get like 2 of them done before you leave. So Monday, we'll finish up the last 2 types. That'll probably be the first half of the hour. I'll kind of gauge with you guys then to see what you're wanting to try or work on. I suppose some of you have an AP on Monday already? Is it Monday the first day of the AP tests?
It's for AP Chem.
Chem, is that anybody in here? Oh, really? Oh, I wonder if AP Chem is during second hour. Maybe, because I feel like I remember my 5th hour saying they did. So, and maybe that's just going on right now. That's why you guys don't. Okay, well, good. Then you'll be here Monday to finish the notes.